Welcome back to the channel, my fellow Days fanatics. Days of our lives. Lexie and Chanel both pass away, but a miracle brought her back. I am sitting here staring at my screen, completely emotionally drained. I just cannot process the sheer amount of trauma they just dumped on the Carver and Dupree families in one single hour of television. I can't believe she actually flatlined. I really thought they were just baiting us with the promos, but they actually showed her dying. Wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, back to the point. We need to talk about the absolute nightmare that was happening at Salem University Hospital. We had Lexie Carver taking her final breaths down the hall, and at the exact same time, Chanel Dupree is fighting for her life in the maternity ward. I know some people are loving this high-stakes medical drama, but personally, I am exhausted. I've been watching since 2015, and this is the most stressful, gut-wrenching thing they've done to Paulina's family. Why do they hate Abe Carver so much? The man is a saint, and now he is losing the love of his life for a second time while his stepdaughter is bleeding out in another room. It is too much, but I kind of couldn't look away. So let's break down Chanel's delivery because it was pure torture to watch. She goes into premature labor 3 weeks early, which is already terrifying. But then Kayla drops the absolute worst news possible. Chanel cannot have an epidural. Because of the chemotherapy and her incredibly low red blood cell count, her body just cannot handle the anesthesia. I mean, can you even imagine? She has to deliver this baby completely unmedicated while her body is already ravaged by cancer. The sheer agony on her face, the screaming, the panic in her eyes, it was so raw and real. Johnny is standing there, holding her hand, looking like he is about to pass out from the terror. Paulina is literally screaming in the corner of the room, and Lonnie is just trying to hold it all together. I was sobbing on my couch, just sobbing. And while all of this chaos is happening with Chanel, we have the quiet, devastating tragedy of Lexie Carver happening right down the hall. Abe and Theo finally got her out of those creepy Dupree tunnels and brought her to the hospital, but it was too late. Dr. Rolf's serum failed. We all knew it was going to fail, right? Remember when they tried this resurrection plot with Will Horton and there were side effects? Yeah, didn't work then either without a ton of drama. But seeing Lexie actually slip away again, surrounded by Abe and Theo, just broke me. She is dying, and the absolute worst part is that she knows Chanel might be dying too. The heavy, suffocating grief in that hospital was just pouring out of my television screen. Then the show does something completely wild. Chanel's body gives out. The monitors start screaming that awful continuous beep, and suddenly we are not in the hospital room anymore. We are in the spiritual realm. I usually hate when soaps do these weird out-of-body ghost sequences because they look so cheesy, but I actually loved this one. Contradictory, I know, but I am emotional and figuring out my thoughts as I type. Chanel's spirit separates from her physical body. She is standing there, looking so scared and so incredibly confused. She doesn't want to die. She keeps saying she wants to be with Johnny. She wants to raise her kids. The transition from the loud, chaotic, bloody hospital room to this silent, glowing spiritual plane was honestly breathtaking. Because guess who is waiting for her in the spiritual realm? Lexie Carver. I screamed at my TV. Lexie is there, looking absolutely radiant, like a literal angel. She doesn't look sick anymore. She just looks peaceful. And Chanel is panicking, asking if she's dead, asking if the baby survived. Lexie just looks at her with so much love and says the lines that absolutely destroyed me. It is not your time. You don't belong here. I mean, come on. How are we supposed to survive this level of emotional damage? Lexie stepping up to be Chanel's guardian angel in the afterlife is the most beautiful thing this show has written in years. Let's really analyze why Lexie did this. Lexie knows exactly what is happening in the physical world. She knows that Abe and Theo are currently standing over her own lifeless body, completely shattered by grief. She knows that Paulina is losing her mind watching Chanel flatline. If Chanel dies too, the Carver and Price families would be completely, irreparably destroyed. Abe would lose his wife and his stepdaughter on the exact same day. Theo would lose his mother and his sister-in-law. Lexie, being the incredibly selfless, beautiful soul that she is, decides she is not going to let that happen. She intervenes. She literally uses some kind of supernatural miracle power to push Chanel's spirit back into the mortal world. She saves her. Meanwhile, back in the real world, things are a complete horror show. Kayla is doing chest compressions. The defibrillator is charging. Clear. Boom. Nothing. Clear. Boom. Still nothing. Johnny is being held back by Lonnie, and he is just begging, pleading with God, pleading with Kayla to save his wife. The doctors look at each other, and you know that look. It is the look of defeat. Kayla slowly steps back from the bed, looking totally devastated, and she actually calls it. She declares the time of death. I stopped breathing. I literally stopped breathing. Even though I knew in my gut they wouldn't kill off Chanel right after she had the baby, seeing them declare her dead was a punch straight to the gut. But then the miracle happens. Just as Kayla pulls the sheet up, Chanel takes this massive, ragged gasp of air. Her eyes fly open. The heart monitor suddenly catches a rhythm and starts beeping normally again. I jumped off my couch cheering. The sheer whiplash of going from crying tears of absolute despair to crying tears of pure joy in the span of 30 seconds is exactly why I am addicted to this soap opera. Lexie did it. Lexie actually pushed Chanel back into her body just in the nick of time. It was a full-blown miracle. I know some fans are going to complain that it's unrealistic, but hello, this is Salem. People come back from the dead all the time. But this time, it wasn't a magic serum from Dr. Rolf. It was pure spiritual love from Lexie Carver. And then we get the payoff we have been waiting for. The nurses clean up the baby and wrap her in a little blanket. Remember how Chanel kept telling Johnny that she just knew in her heart it was a boy? Well, surprise, it is a beautiful, healthy baby girl. Johnny places this tiny little girl into Chanel's arms, and they are both just weeping. But the absolute best part of the entire episode happens right at the end. Chanel is holding her daughter, and she looks across the hospital room. Standing there in the corner glowing with this soft, angelic light is Lexie. Lexie just smiles at her, gives this little nod of reassurance, and then slowly fades away. Chanel looks up at Johnny, tears streaming down her face, and tells everyone in the room that Lexie saved her. Lexie pulled her back from the edge of certain death. I am just so overwhelmed by how perfectly they executed this. Yes, we are losing Lexie, and that hurts so much. I hate that Abe has to grieve again. I hate that Theo is losing his mom again. But the fact that Lexie's final act in this universe was to save Chanel and give Johnny his wife back, it makes her death mean something profound. It softens the blow of this massive tragedy. We get this beautiful new baby girl, and Chanel gets a second chance at life. I am definitely going to need a few days to recover from this episode, and I know I am going to be rewatching that spiritual realm scene 100 times. What did you guys think? Am I the only one who completely lost it when Lexie smiled from across the room? Let me know, because I need to talk about this miracle with people who actually understand.